Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. It has been a minute since we have posted, and I apologize for the delay. Thank you for your emails and your inquiries about when we're going to be back. I have several significant people in my life who have come down ill. So it's been very stressful, very busy at the Peace and Harmony studios. So if you do believe in the power of good vibes, good wishes, good thoughts, good statements, please do send them here to Peace and Harmony and wish for speedy recovery and things of that nature. So I definitely appreciate your comments, your support, and your encouragement. Sorry it's been a while, but have been dealing with some of these issues. So thank you for your patience. And, try not to get discouraged if you see me sort of not being able to post. It's because things are going on and I have a super busy schedule. So thank you for that. And also, before we get started, I just want to give a huge shout out to those people who have recently been asking, like, why don't, they're surprised that the channel does not have more viewers. And to that, I've received a lot of comments as well as a lot of emails and suggestions and things like that. So as far as the YouTube algorithm goes, I'm not sure how it works. I'm putting out content that I feel that is helpful. So, and I'm not sure if it's the matter of likes or comments or clicking on the ads or all of the above, but if people don't share or subscribe or click the ads or comment, I just not even sure. So, I'm not quite sure why. So thank you for your kind thoughts. And so if you, of course, like the content that we bring forward, please feel free to subscribe, comment, share, and donate. We would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for your continued support. And I know we have a lot of viewers who have been with us for some time, for several years. So thank you for your positive feedback and support. I'm so glad that you are experiencing what is healing for you. And I just sort of want to make today's video sort of, happiness for dummies. And because I always say a lot of our viewers, they get ticked off, they get angry, they get moody, they get, unhappy when the way certain things are evolving, transpiring, or really what they're experiencing on a day-to-day. And so this makes them unhappy, causes separation, distance, negative pockets in your life. And if you ask me, life is too short. Your time is your most important commodity. So if you have been somebody with a big heart, and you find yourself that you're absorbing too much negative energy from others, it's so you have to realize the power, really not only of dumbing down, but let's dumb it down and what makes you unhappy. I think people can raise their hands right away and they will know right away what makes them unhappy. How many people are indulging in thoughts, behavior, situations, and emotions that are making you really unhappy? I mean, we're talking not for a moment, but we're talking about for days, weeks, months, years, and you're feeling really grouchy. You're not seeing the positive. You're not seeing your purpose, your passion, your own sense of that you are here and that you are important and that you have valid needs, feelings, wishes, and desires that are of the positive and worth pursuing and moving forward for. So really, when we talk about the context here, and what makes people unhappy, so I think it's a very personal situation. What makes you unhappy? And oftentimes it's not having boundaries or standards met for you and open, honest communication. So this also is known as being disempowered. So if you are unhappy, you have to, for, happiness for dummies, you have to look at so you have to be more mindful and aware. What is really making you unhappy? because this is what has power over you. And if you have allowed circumstances, situations, people to overwhelm or throw you into a tizzy, making you angry, there is legitimate anger. I mean, you have every right to your feelings. Legitimate anger, M. Scott Peck, and the repressing of this really, and what leads to a lot of suffering. We're talking about suffering, that becomes really problematic. So, happiness is oftentimes a very fleeting state. And especially in right now, with all that we're going through, you have to look at the reactivity. And if you're very reactive and you're not mindful, starting from like a place of calm, some of our viewers, talk about their spiritual sacred things that bring them support and happiness. And I talk about the recovery date, the recovery journal, and the recovery gift. So you need to really look at where had this been really started to crumble and get back in and do some patchwork if things have been making you unhappy. Particularly if you have been sort of away in a position of relating to others where you're always people pleasing. In other words, there's been a manipulative or very important other who has really been unhappy. And then so you, by virtue of surrounding yourself with these people, it will create and cause unhappiness. So you have to realize the power of surrounding yourself also with like-minded people that bring you, it's okay to be happy. It's okay just to be. It's okay to define yourself by the positive. If you have been in sort of asymmetric or imbalanced relationships, and this has been sort of a tug of war, realize oftentimes that people are rewarded for pleasing negative others. In other words, pacifying somebody's anger, minimizing minimizing meaning, whatever you want, your endpoint is not important, it's not valued, you don't know what you're talking about. This is known really as sort of invalidating your right to your feelings. So when people try to shut you down, snub you off, whatever it is, we have a lot of viewers who are in relationships where this process is very painful. And you're not in touch with your happiness, your passion, your purpose, your positive sense of self and validation of this. Then that's really where the crossroads, you're at kind of wimp junction, if you ask me, when you're always going and absorbing the negative. So the way that I see it, you're at a crossroads. And you can either go negative orderly direction, thinking, behaving. I call that nod thinking. Like, nope, it's not going to work. Even though there's others pulling you down. I mean, you think that they really grabbed you by the shoulders and are trying to throw you, be unhappy. It can be very, very forceful. Oftentimes, these controlling others, and then if you find that you can't sort of ignite your own happiness or your own truth and being validated as such, and you are feeling disempowered, you are ultimately then going to feel apathetic. I can't do anything to change this. It's helpless. It's hopeless. And people, then give up. I mean, this is suffering. This is suffering. This is unhappy. And if you have to then look at not only what makes you unhappy, but where are you rewarded for negating yourself, i.e. not being able to put your 2 cents in, not being able to have your feelings validated. You're happy, you're unhappy, you're peaceful, you're perturbed, you're angry. If people have told you, you have no right to be angry. I mean, back in the day, it was, you've got kids starving, eat whatever you get. I mean, you didn't oftentimes, so you have to look at with the problematic, which makes people unhappy, is that they are stuck on really, and they're motivated by pleasing others. If there has been someone who's controlling or manipulative, and, they have shut you down, thrown you under the bus, criticized or the like, then oftentimes people that are suffering from in invalidated or low self-esteem, not having a positive sense of self or positive self-regard. So as you can imagine, if you're around people who are always throwing you under the bus, and you're giving them authority in your life because they are superior, better than, taller, whatever it is. Maybe they have flat feet, maybe they have arched feet, maybe they have long fingernails, maybe they have short fingernails. To me, so if you back it down, who are you giving your power to? Is it somebody with, do you see what I'm saying? Is it somebody with the biggest bite? Is it somebody with the biggest growl? Is it somebody with the biggest shoes? Is it somebody with the biggest belt? Who are you giving your power over to? People are generally, I find, they're not mindful, and they fall by virtue of force to sort of, what I would consider an extrinsic motivation. So they've lost touch with their intrinsic motivation. They don't feel valued for their input, their emotions, their feelings. You have no right to be, da da da. Well, so if they're cutting you down from your input, this then gets repressed. And if this continues again and again, people feel unseen, unheard, unacknowledged, and disempowered. So this will definitely lead to unhappiness because you'll feel that your contribution or your sense of self, you have no right. You're not enough. So you have to really understand that if you are around another who is determining your value or your value creation, that is an external source of control, and that will make you unhappy. Especially when you're feeling that you have to conform to a guideline or a goal for your life or how you're supposed to be that is not congruent or who you are. So someone's trying to make you into be something different. This is very painful. When we talk about education, the root word Latin is educare, or to bring out. So you really have to look at to what degree has your own, self been sort of shut down, dilapidated, cut in, 4x4s, and made your personality feel so that it's nothing more than a bunch of pieces that you can kind of assemble into a sense of self. So this, if you have allowed someone else to give a negative value creation to you, that is going to make you unhappy. And this is very unsupportive. So rather than being, derived by all these other things outside of you, your sense of worth, realize your own intrinsic, inherent sense of self-worth as a person. If you have not experienced this, then this is very important, because oftentimes then there's a deficit of a lot of positive experiences, especially from significant others who then have, quote unquote, air quotes, defined you by whatever judgment. So do you look at where your measuring stick is? Who is holding the measuring stick above you, below you? That you're trying to jump into some sort of mold like hot wax that you can't even, the smell, the fumes, you're not made of wax. You're made of tissue, heart, emotions, experiences, and humanity. And so oftentimes people will seek to control you and really sort of eliminate your happiness, if you will, or your ability to have a positive sense of self and relax in this. So, people who have a lot of anxiety, oftentimes because they don't have a resting sense of positive sense of self-regard, whether it's in their home or out in public. And it definitely, so if you're around others who try to, and I responded to a viewer here, I think we're going to go into a little bit more of this, because I think it's very important to understand what's the cause has created the effect, and a lack of happiness or a lack of good decision making. And, oftentimes people have, if they have been around manipulative or controlling others who have sort of, had this sense of superiority, I'm better than, and they're not looking at the strength of others. So, everybody has different strengths. Not everybody is a computer engineer. Thank God. Not everybody is all about the rage of IT. Not everybody is on the bandwagon of, I have to be a doctor, a lawyer, or an Indian chief. And if you're not anything else than that, then you're invaluable. So where in your life has somebody responded, that have given you this negative? When did that happen? Really look, because oftentimes these are in the subconscious, and they're like a new rule that's written out on a tablet. Be unhappy, be unhappy, be unhappy. You are not enough. So it's kind of like that is written on the mirror or the bathroom mirror when you are waking up. For those people who have suffered through tremendous amounts of unhappiness, because they don't have, they have such a low sense of self that they have to seek it from other things outside. So this is a real shift and a real breakthrough and a real, I would say, reset for, especially in these times. So, we're going through a really major problem in, right now. And, your happiness is paramount. You're being able to come from a state of calm and reasonableness rather than rashness and reactivity is so important. So realize the power really of the difference between reacting and responding and your own right to your feelings. So if you have been invalidated of your input, this is known as gaslighting or brainwashing. You have no right, you have no place, you shouldn't feel this way. So they're trying to, this is denial. If you feel something, it's probably for a reason. If you're making stuff up to manipulate others, then you might, want to stop that, because that's going to never lead to your happiness. So oftentimes, and I think there is a lot of tug of war between this polarity of external and extrinsic. Outside of you. And so if this is imbalanced, you're going to be unhappy. So you have to look at this balance and be willing to stop this cycle. Stop the pattern of things that are making you unhappy. I did this. I did that. I was too quiet. I was too Where, so you need within you, correct within, not somebody out. You internally, you have the power. You literally do have the ability to create and manifest. And, Eleanor Roosevelt, a lot of leaders, Abraham Lincoln, in the United States, they have, spoken to this effect. You're only about as happy as you make your mind up to be. So you can either make up your mind, to go in the wrong direction, or you can stay at Wimp Junction and make little decisions along the positive, but look at your decision making and the foundation. Become more mindful, which becomes your ability to think about what you're thinking about. This is responsiveness, not reactivity. So, look at the information age and how much, it just blows my mind to see people with their foot on the gas and they're looking down and doing whatever they're doing. They're driving for blocks, not even looking forward. They're looking at their phone. This is addiction. Addiction will render you powerless. Is IT socializing you, or are you socializing on your social media? So you, just like I talk about alcoholics, people who are alcoholic, they always have a vision sort of, and they don't feel that they can ever sort of kind of make it without the alcohol. This is, so they have this forward-looking vision based on their previous experiences. So to what degree are you still envisioning the negativity and the uncertainty? To what degree are you putting that out there in front of yourself, which is causing you the suffering? And to what degree, can we get a grip on this and be able to manage your feelings? if you have been in a lot of relationships then that are not validating in nature and don't allow you to just be in your own experience as okay. So we're talking about just a B state to exist, and in your own passion, in your own purpose, in your own positive sense of self that you pursue and develop. If you are sort of, backing off of this expansiveness and you're making yourself small to protect others, you have to look at this as an option that's rendering you unhappy, and look at to what degree you are still allowing others' negativity to be that you're absorbing it like a sponge, and you're basically hanging a medal of despair. Things will never change, and you're wearing it around your neck. I mean, how many people are actively not able to manage their emotions and their own positive sense of self and happiness that they, because oftentimes pursuit of something, they will feel guilty. So they have then struggled with feeling unwanted or undesirable. So they're not able to put the chips on their own side. So look at this mindfully and understand the cause that's created the effect, and don't be afraid to own your truth, own your reality. This happened, and say, and also oftentimes if you're used to people sort of overpowering you and their opinion is more important, you're always deferring to, stepping down to, stepping back for, to what degree has this been a problem? And you are then having to go against your own values, giving up yourself, a piece or a part of yourself that you would like to maintain as your strength. So realize how important this awareness is, and to catch it in motion and stop the patterns, behavior, emotion, even thought patterns, because thoughts are things. So how you feel and think will determine what you experience, what you do, and then what you attract and experience in your life. So look at that, how that seeps in, and sort of do an emotional patch up, job. Is your basement getting flooded? It's no fun to feel cold and wet. And so, this, whatever feelings are making you unhappy, you literally have to do an emotional seal coat job. It's okay. You have the authority. Oftentimes people have not been given authority over self because of society, negative messages, manipulation, whatever it is. It wasn't convenient for you to be okay for somebody. Somebody has to throw you under the bus because they're rude or condescending. How many times are you going to define yourself by the negative? This is known as negative. So this is problematic. This is a very negative emotional habit, and realize that I feel emotional habits, thought habits, are very much like other habits, like eating too much, gambling, other habits that get you into trouble. How many of you are okay to say that was then and this is now, and I'm okay to let go of these negative definings? And I'm not going to be afraid. Oftentimes people then felt afraid to stand up for themselves because they're not used to it. They're not given the permission. So look at where you were not permitted. Where were you not permitted for something? And that's the seed, really, as sort of that those more valley moments for you. And those valley moments, if you find yourself, realize how important it is for you to enjoy yourself. And you need to say, gosh darn it, I'm going to enjoy myself, even if it's not in the way that someone else is telling you. So in other words, whether it be who you are as a person, or your sexuality. I mean, a lot of people have really been disempowered. I wanted a boy instead of a girl. I wanted a tall instead of a short. I wanted a doctor instead of a this, or construction, So there's oftentimes, To what degree are you walking around really like a walking wounded? Um, and to admit to this. And how many people have gone through extensive suffering because that they haven't been able to communicate? Check it out with somebody and say, you know what, this is not right. This is wrong. This is not to be tolerated. And to be able to have some agreement and somebody be able to hear you out, like a third party who does not have any motive other than just to give you a realistic perspective. So surround yourself with more supportive people and really own your positive sense of self. Own how you feel. Own what you didn't agree with. Own what you feel is wrong. Own where your boundaries and standards are, and solidify your boundaries and your standards. And it's okay to pursue happiness. Oftentimes, other people who are threatened by your happiness or your knowledge or your truth or your communication style, that is going to have to be their problem. How many people have made everybody else's problem their own, and they're carrying something that is not your own? You're carrying anxiety, guilt, negative emotions. How many people have been carrying problems that are not their own? They're carrying somebody else's problems. They're like, yep, just hook it to my back. I will do this for you. How many people have done that and feel bad about, not dragging them through the snow, the coals, like a bobsled throughout you're just going through every situation. You're just still carrying this around. To what degree are you afraid to let it go? Oftentimes people are afraid to let it go because they have not worked through these things. Hey, this is wrong. The person hears it. Oh, I understand. That was wrong. So oftentimes basic communication will create this unhappiness or a deficit of communication. Realize that oftentimes people who are manipulative, this is a shutting you down, not wanting to hear from you. You don't have anything to contribute. And so if you are suffering by this definition of yourself, remove that negative definition of you now. That is usually at the hands of somebody who wants to have power and control in domination and diminutive over you, which means controlling your life, to be diminutive. So this is very important. And so people don't feel that who have suffered through this, don't feel that they have an intrinsic sense of worth. So then they have to, get all these other things outside of them to make themselves feel better. And if they find that isn't working anymore, and then they go to find other things, overeating, gambling. And so this will become an ongoing problem until you have the courage to face and say, you know what, that was hurtful. That was erroneous thinking. That was erroneous behavior towards me. That was not right. And it's okay to identify this. Even if you have never had the ability to feel you have authority, you have authority. You do literally as a human being. You know what you know. You have felt what you have felt. You have seen what you have seen. Even if this has been invalidated, unwelcomed, thrown out in the bonfire, there was a dumpster fire and they're like, nope, you didn't see that. You didn't feel that. Okay, rewrite it down. Know and own, especially what your positive sense of self is moving forward. So you do have the right to pursue happiness, things that make you feel good, not things that, and things that promote your strength, your curiosity, your happiness, your well-being. Where was that made not important, not on the list of to do? Who, and so where did things go awry? Being able to say, aha, I got it now. I'm doing something different this time. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today. And I hope that these videos do help. Please share, please subscribe, and for goodness sake, please donate for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Have a beautiful day.